Alright, I have made it to the beautiful Siwa Oasis, which is in the middle of the desert, about 10 or 11 hours by bus away from Cairo. So I took the night bus and it was alright, it was a night bus. I did manage to get some sleep and I was able to check in right away at my lovely place that I'm staying. It is so cozy here. I'm so happy I chose this place, and it was a recommendation from someone I met along the way.
It was only a short walk to get from the West Delta bus station to Nansha Guest House. It was located super centrally, and the building is one of the authentic original houses of the old city. It is basic, but I loved it.
You have undoubtedly seen images of Siwa Oasis. The salt pools here in the middle of the desert. It is also where Alexander the Great came for the oracle. So it is not only a beautiful place naturally, but it is also like very significant in history. However, it is a place that is a bit more off the beaten path and harder to reach. And it is also a place that is on the red list of my country, of Belgium. They have a negative travel advice when it comes to this area, simply because it is close to Libya and Libya is having issues at the moment. However, anyone I talked to has said that Siwa is so safe, it is so calm, completely the opposite of the rest of Egypt, and that I had nothing to worry about. So let's see if it's really worth it coming all the way out here. Is it just as beautiful in the pictures, or is it an Instagram versus reality issue? Let's go around and explore.
I had to wait for my guide for a bit, so I decided to go and explore the Shali Fortress, which is right next to the guest house. This fortress was built with a salt mud brick that all of Siwa's buildings used to be made from. You can still see the salt in the walls. The roofs of the buildings were made with palm logs, and unfortunately, during 3 days of heavy rains in the 1920s, most of the Shali and the surrounding houses were severely damaged because they are not used to it raining in the middle of the desert. So it was left abandoned when the inhabitants left to find a new home. I love that they even use salt to make lamps here.
Of course, I had to unleash my inner Sarah Croft once again. I really seem to be in my ghost town era. Also, definitely make sure that you take the steps that have wood on them, because I was coming the other way and it did not seem very safe. So yeah, try to find the right path.
We were then picked up by Ibrahim in his tuk-tuk, and we were in for a much bumpier ride than I had expected. We drove for about half an hour to reach the salt lakes. You can also see them mine the salt here. When we first arrived, I thought that I had fallen into a really bad tourist trap. However, Ibrahim kept driving and we reached some unreal turquoise blue salt lakes that we had all to ourselves. I could not believe it. It was actually like in the pictures. We headed straight in, and it was so much harder to swim here than in normal water because the salt makes you float a lot more. It's what I imagined the Dead Sea to be like. Look at the salt along the side as well. I then walked a bit further and Ibrahim pointed out a heart-shaped pool.
This is so cool, you guys. This pool is full of salt, and then everything around it is salt as well. You need to be careful when you're swimming or diving, not to hurt yourself because they can be quite sharp.
As soon as you dried up, you were covered in salt. It can be painful if you have any small wounds anywhere, and it can definitely irritate your skin. So I was very happy to get a good rinse before we continued our trip.
They even brought us a shower to rinse off the salt once we are done.
But I definitely still had some salt on my face. We continued on to our second stop, which was Cleopatra's Pool, one of the many natural springs in the area. It's free to swim here, but locals prefer it if you wear something a bit more covered up. There's a few nice bars and shops here as well. Next up, we went to the nearby temples. Of the smaller one, not much is left. This one was connected to the bigger one a bit further ahead. Our next stop is the Oracle Temple, where Alexander the Great came to hear the oracle about him being a pharaoh. And it is so much more than just the temple itself. The temple itself, well, not much is left of it, unfortunately. The last site we visited was the Mountain of the Dead.
I am now on the Mountain of the Dead, and it is full of these cavities where people were buried. You can see down here as well, all these holes is where people were buried. And apparently there's 3 beautiful tombs with hieroglyphs and stuff, but I don't even know where to begin searching.
We went back into town for a bit and were later picked up again to go to Fatna's Island to watch the sunset. It was so cloudy that we didn't expect to see much of a sunset. It had cooled down quite a bit and I was pretty sleepy at this point because the night bus was catching up with me. It took much longer for the sun to set than we thought, but it turned into the most beautiful bright pink sunset. Since the sun only set at 8 p.m, it was quite late when we got back, so I headed to Karim's koshari for a quick and affordable dinner. It was delicious and Karim is super nice.
Right, so I am having this beautiful, fresh breakfast with an amazing view in the back and an amazing view in the front. I am right in the middle of all this gorgeousness. By the way, if you were wondering, these are refried beans, kind of. So this reminds me a lot of Central America. Alright, it is another day. I have had an amazing breakfast and I called my family for a catch-up. And this afternoon, I am doing the desert tour. It only starts at 4:30, so I still have some time to kill. First off, I am going to the bus station to check which bus I can take to wherever is my next destination, which I'm not sure about yet. And then I want to pass by the pottery as well, like the Pottery School right here, which my friend says is amazing. And I really want to try this camel stew at Ola. So that is also on the menu for today. And maybe do some souvenir shopping. I'm not a big souvenir shopper, but they have some beautiful rugs here and I will have a room in my parents' house that I get to decorate quite soon. So let's go for a walk around town. What I found so crazy yesterday as well is all the kids driving all the tuk-tuks and all the donkey carts and everything, to the point where when I entered the pharmacy to buy some face wipes in the evening, there was some children attending me and I didn't even question it until the adult came out. I was just talking to the kids, expecting them to help me. But yeah. Siwa is definitely very interesting and so much quieter than I had expected. It is currently an Egyptian holiday, a long weekend, so I expected it to be super busy, but apparently they all come here in winter when it's not even that hot right now. Alright guys, I have run my errands and I have done some shopping. I came across the only female shop owner in Siwa. There is another person who owns a restaurant, but this woman is the only one with a store. And I found this beautiful hand embroidered, completely made out of Egyptian cotton scarf / blanket. Look how stunning it is. It uses the patterns of Siwa that date back to the Egyptian ancient culture, and she also works with like the energies of the colors, which some believe in it, some don't, but still I loved this so much. I loved being able to support a female business owner. There aren't many in Egypt, unfortunately, and just, you guys know I love the local crafts and traditions, and I did some weaving back in Laos, and I've also seen the weaving in Mexico and so on. So yeah, I just love being able to support something like this. It will pack up much better in my backpack, much better than a rug or anything like that. I can put it onto like any chair or any sofa that I have as a decorative blanket. And this one cost me 1,500 Egyptian pounds, which is quite a bit, but considering the quality and the fact that I'm supporting the local craftswomen and the local vendor, it was just a no-brainer for me. And then I also went to the pottery workshop, which is here in the Shali Fortress. It's quite difficult to find, so I will put the location and also the location of this shop in the video description so that you can find it more easily. Now, what is left for me to do is book the bus ticket. I need to have a look at that and also go and have lunch/dinner at Ola and try the camel.
Ola has a lot of local delicacies, and I went for a local soft drink as well. The flights in Siwa are relentless though. It took a long time, but I loved the food, and the camel wasn't anything special though. Then it was finally time to start the 4x4 desert tour. They put me in the trunk from where all I could see was car, and my stuff along with me was thrown around in the back because I couldn't see where we were driving. Sand was flying in my eyes through the window, and I was hating life right now.
We have come to the desert with the 4x4s, and so far it's probably my least favorite thing I've ever done. It's these 4x4s that are not open at all, except for the windows obviously, and I'm put all the way in the back where I can't see anything but car. Like all I see is car, and whenever I want to look through the tiny window to my left, which is blinded, then I can't see what's happening in front and I get thrown all over the car, getting sand blown in my face. Yeah, it's not at all what I expected, and it's a waste of time and money at this point. But anyways, let's see how the rest continues. We now have a bit of time just to take some pictures of the dunes. I wish I could see the dunes, but no. It's basically just a joyride for these two drivers, and I'm in the trunk.
I just sat down on the sand and took in the views, as I love a desert landscape so much.
Okay, so apparently it was quite obvious that I wasn't really enjoying the ride in the back. So he has kindly moved me to the front where the security guard was sitting for some reason. So yeah, now I'm in the front, but now I feel bad for the other person who's still in the back, who's a taller man, who also doesn't have much leg room. I'm really trying to enjoy this experience now. The second stop is a natural spring where the water randomly appears in the desert. I don't know how these springs work. They just come from groundwater somehow. And this spring has created an oasis. It's always so cool to see these random places in the middle of the desert.
I enjoyed some people watching here and made another shorter stop at a second natural spring. I then let one of the Egyptian ladies take the front seat, and I got the middle seat. I didn't want to come across spoiled or obnoxious, and I just wanted to have a nice time. The middle seat was just fine for me.
After stopping off at another oasis and also having a good joyride, even though now I was in the middle, in between the lovely ladies, it was so much more fun. But now we have stopped at a place where you can find loads of fossils, of shells, and basically 4 million years ago, the sea used to be here, so you can find all these beautiful fossils. And I guess that also explains why there's so much salt around here for the salt pools, etc. So I already saw that my room was decorated with these, but yeah, you can just find them here. We have arrived at our final stop of the day, which is from where we will watch the sunset over the dunes and the desert. And we are also going to have a little picnic, as you can see behind me, just probably have some tea after watching the sunset. But in the meantime, whilst we wait for the sun to set, we get to sandboard. So we get to go off the side of the hill as much as we want, but if you go down, you must come up, and that's the hard part.
There was so much wind on the dunes that we were eating so much sand. You can hear it in my teeth here. Time to have some snacks instead. I was chatting away with the ladies so much that we almost missed the sunset. We ran up the dune, dug our feet into the sand, and made it just in time to see the sun set. We then headed back into town as the night fell. I checked out Siwa bus, but the vans are more expensive, so I went for West Delta again instead. I then got a ride back with the amazing hostel host, and I love a tuk-tuk ride through a city at night. The perfect end to a great time in Siwa.